Hi, chickadees. I don't have a name for my fans, but anywho, this is going to be the Gemini video. So, yes, I'm gonna start with like the statistics, I suppose. So, Gemini is an air sign. It is ruled by the planet Mercury. It is the third sign, at least of the houses. The third house rules Gemini, and the symbol is the twins. The glyph, you can look that up, Gemini glyph, but it's like kind of like the Roman numeral 2. Yes, Gemini is all about the twins. That's a symbol, ruled by the twins, and sometimes it's like the two-headed twins. So a Gemini is, people love to say two-faced. I think multifaceted. They just have a personality that tends to contradict itself. Now, I feel like Geminis get kind of a bad rep for this, but in reality, everyone's personality contradicts itself. No one is like always one thing all the time. Like, human beings are more complex than that, you know what I mean? So Geminis are quite complex people. They're very smart. So it's an air sign. All the air signs, they think a lot. They can be, the shadow of it is they can be in their head a lot, and like the positive of it is that they're very intelligent. So Gemini is just one of those air signs, so tends to perhaps overthink sometimes, and have some trouble like feeling their feelings because they're so detached from themselves sometimes. Being an air sign, they're so busy thinking that they can be forget to feel, and like get really, sorry, my nose itches, get very like caught up in their head and forget important things. So they can get a rep for being kind of spacey, kind of detached. They are, it's not really false, but they're very much smart. They're not like idiots, just because they're kind of spacey. They're just thinking a lot, and they think about everything. So Mercury being their ruler, their brain is constantly going. They are constantly processing information very quickly. So being a mutable air sign, that's one thing I forgot to mention. Mutable is their modality. So being a mutable air sign, so mutable means moving, flowing, and air. So that's the most compatible pairing in all of astrology, I think. Being moving and being air that moves, like air moves very fast. So Geminis are very quick. I've had Gemini coworkers, and they would like, if they'd work in the kitchen, they'd kind of be known for being able to get the food out the quickest. They move very fast. Mercury moves really fast. If you throw Mercury on the ground, it's just going to start moving. They're very hard to pin down, just like what I just explained. If you envision that, like, it Mercury doesn't stay in one place, so they're very hard to pin down. That's why their personality is so complex. You can't really, you know how some people you can just read them, be like, this person's, you know, reliable, little stubborn, like, you know, kind of like that. Give them like a list of personality traits. With a Gemini, it's gonna be hard to do that. You're gonna start to question yourself. You'll be like, they're this, but are they this though? But I saw them one time not being this. Like, they're so hard to pin down into like a certain box, and constantly moving. Very social signs, so they can talk a lot. And you know, people, I feel like I kind of feel bad for Geminis because people just say the same shit about them. It's like they talk a lot, they're crazy, like things like that. But it's just because that's how you guys are. Like, Geminis talk a lot. They're very knowledgeable about a lot of different subjects. So they can be kind of a jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal. They might master some stuff depending on the rest of their chart. But a lot of times they just like to know a little bit about everything. They, you know, just so that they can keep up in conversation, I think. So they just like to learn about as much as possible. Not so much learn as much as possible about one thing, but just learn about as many things as possible. So they will know about music, they'll know about different genres of music, different artists, they'll know their autobiography, they will know what their latest album is. And this, we're talking country, we're talking rap, like every type of genre. They'll know about, you know, random ass like skills that exist, like, and they'll just know a little bit about it. And if you ask a Gemini, like if you're trying to talk to them and you're like, do you know about this thing, like they probably do know about it. So and this is because they are constantly learning. Geminis love to learn because of their very active mind. They like to keep their mind stimulated. They don't like to be bored and sit still for too long. They like to stay mentally active. These are the people that are going to be learning new languages when they're 60. Like, they're never done learning. They never really get bored of learning. They get bored easily, but that's because they need constant mental stimulation. It's a lot. I've heard people say that Gemini energy reads like ADHD. And it's like, I get what those people are saying, because they're pretty restless and constantly seeking new stuff, but they can't, that stuff will probably not keep their attention for a very long time. Another thing, this is shifting gears a little bit, but another thing that I really like about Geminis is how quickly they can move on from things. They're not really ones to dwell. None of the mutable signs really are. Just more people who can constantly keep it moving. Geminis move on quick. They will feel all range of emotions. I think that's why people call them crazy, because they can be really, really mad at you, but then like 10 minutes later they forget that they were ever mad at you, but like you still remember because they just made a whole big scene, but like they've already moved on to the next thing. You know what I mean? So, you know, it can be good and bad. They can you know, some people like to stick around and like work it a little bit more, but it's also nice because Geminis, they, you know, they're not gonna hold a grudge. They're gonna move on pretty quickly. Now a lot of them do like to gossip. I don't personally believe in gossip. I try to avoid gossip. I think it happens sometimes, but like overall I try not to get too into it unless I'm like venting. It really depends on the situation, but there's nasty gossiping and there's just like processing kind of thing, so it depends. But Geminis, some of them can really get into gossiping. I think all Geminis will gossip to some extent because they need to process all this information, and they like to process information like with other people. They tend to have a lot of friends because they make friends usually pretty easily, being naturally extroverted, very talkative people. They'll talk to just about anyone. And yes, it's because they like to kind of process information, to process people. They're very interested in people, so that's kind of why they'll discuss people a lot. So that was my point with that. They like to analyze situations and people, so they are probably the person like some that can read into like celebrity gossip, like things like that. They enjoy it for the sake of it. And yes, they will have a lot of friends because of their naturally extroverted nature and very social, outgoing, and talkative nature. They can make friends quite easily, and they can build meaningful connections because they'll see themselves in others. So they can relate to just about anyone. Pretty much anyone they meet, they can relate to them and see themselves in others, and therefore love that person for being similar to them, if that makes sense. So the Lover's card in tarot, that's the Gemini card, another thing I didn't mention, but the Lover's card is, I've heard a reader, and I don't remember who it was, but I've heard a reader describe it as, falling in love with ourselves through others, like seeing through others what we love about ourselves kind of thing. There is kind of a meme about Geminis that they'll start every sentence with I. They'll say, so I did every sentence. It's like a joke, but it's because like that's their way of processing, is relating. That's just kind of the way that they live, is relating things to themselves. They're usually pretty self-aware people. They usually know themselves very well. They tend to be kind of 5 steps ahead of people. Some of them have this superiority complex because they think they're smarter than everyone else. They are very smart, but Geminis out there, it can get annoying because they genuinely think that they are smarter. They're probably quicker than everyone else, I will give them that. But yes, and one other thing, very good public speakers, just naturally very skilled communicators. When you hear a Gemini speak, like you might be impressed by the way that they speak and how like eloquent they sound. They're probably not gonna use a lot of filler words. They'll have a very advanced vocabulary and just sound very intelligent and also very knowledgeable about what they're talking about. So they make really great public speakers because of this. They are being ruled by the planet of communication. They just know about communication. So this is kind of where I'm gonna leave you guys. If you're interested in a reading from me, I do sell my readings. I will link the information below. I recommend Depop because I'm still figuring out Etsy. It confuses me, so I will link the information down below, and I thank you all for watching. Bye.